Another day, another opportunity to cook up something yummy in the kitchen. Today's video is in partnership with Lomi by Pila, and I'm excited to be sharing some of my go-to meals while reducing food waste with the new kitchen appliance, Lomi. A little bit of background. I was super excited to hear about the Lomi when Pila first launched their funding campaign, knowing their commitment to the planet and circular economy. As someone who knows the challenges of composting, the Lomi looked like a promising solution for those intimidated by home composting practices, especially in a small space. The machine has different settings, processing food scraps to create nutrient-rich dirt, as well as the ability to break down Lomi-approved bioplastics. We personally have been using the Eco Express mode most often, which breaks down food waste in about 3 to 5 hours. The end result is a low-volume, dehydrated, odor-free confetti of sorts, perfect for your green bin if your municipality offers one for your yard trimmings. I'll show you how I save my food scraps as I cook today, as well as how we use the Lomi once it's ready to be filled. So let's start with some food for today, shall we? If I'm not super hungry in the morning, I'll keep it light and get started with some fruit and hot lemon water or tea. This morning, I'm going for a sliced apple from my local farm, as well as some hot lemon water. It's a simple snack to keep me feeling light and a bit energized as I start off the day. When I generate produce scraps such as apple cores and used lemon wedges, I toss those scraps into a used paper bag, which is then stored in the freezer. By the time this bag is almost full, it's about time to fill the Lomi to process the food scraps. Freezing food scraps keeps them from spoiling and also reduces the odor. It's a great option if you need to collect food scraps, if you do a compost drop-off locally, or you're waiting to fill up the Lomi too. So a few hours have passed and my body is telling me that it's ready for a full-on meal. Due to time constraints with running my small business and staying busy, I find that I usually have 2 larger meals during the day. We've been lucky enough to get a produce box with seasonal, organic vegetables from our local farm, so I'm using whatever we have there to make some breakfast plates. I found a bag of mini potatoes, which is perfect for a side of fried potatoes of sorts. I'm going to wash and boil them and attempt to make something similar to smashed potatoes, which are traditionally baked in an oven after boiling, but I'll be doing it on the stove. After a few minutes of boiling, it's time to check that they're cooked all the way through. It's best to take them out before they're too mushy, but a little tough considering all the different sized potatoes I had. I'll smash each one with a spatula so they're somewhat flattened, and to a preheated skillet with oil, it's time to fry these potatoes up. I'm all about texture when it comes to food, so I'll be frying these potatoes and letting them sit on each side for a good few minutes before flipping, to ensure they get nicely crisp and golden. I've also added a dash of salt and thyme to season the potatoes. Once the potatoes are nicely crisped up on each side, I'll move them to the side and also fry an egg and heat up some leftover veggie tomato sauce I made 2 nights ago. It's a random breakfast plate of sorts, but with plenty of colors, textures, and flavors of the season, and there's nothing like finishing up some leftovers to also reduce food waste. The eggshell Any other remaining food scraps and even small bits of grease food is going to go into the freezer bag, which will all eventually go into the Lomi. This is great if you have bits of leftovers that can't be salvaged. Otherwise, on a side note, the smashed potatoes were so good. I would highly recommend trying to make these on your own if you're craving a crunchy, savory potato dish, and I bet it'd also be really good with sweet potatoes. With the hours passing by, it's time for a snack. I promise I don't eat my cookies every day, but I was craving one today. I happened to have a Tess blueberry chocolate oatmeal cookie in the freezer, so I heated it up in the oven as a little pick-me-up for the afternoon. While I usually eat half a cookie and share the other half with Peter, I managed to eat the entire thing. So sorry, Peter, I know you're probably watching this at some point, but I promise I will share a cookie with you next time. It was just really good, all warm and melted with chocolate. That cookie was the perfect snack to get me up on my feet to cook dinner, and I'm craving some kimchi stew on this cold day. Peter is usually the one in our home to cook kimchi stew. However, as he's out of the house today, I'll try my best to make my Korean husband proud, but no guarantee since I don't know how to make this. I'm starting off by chopping leek, garlic, and ginger for the aromatics. In hindsight, I would forego the ginger and go for an entire onion instead. To a large pot, I'm adding these ingredients with some oil and stir-frying on medium heat for a few minutes. While those are cooking down, it's time to prep the root vegetables and slice them into large chunks for boiling. Today, I am using green daikon and carrots. While I only find daikon in kimchi stew, I thought the carrots would help multiply the stew and make it last a bit longer. I'm also loving the beautiful colors of these vegetables too. Now with the first set of vegetables cooked down, it's time to add vegetable broth, soy sauce, red pepper paste, and the root vegetables, allowing everything to simmer for around 20 minutes until the daikon and carrots are cooked. There's also the option to add Korean chili powder for a spicier stew, but my stomach can only handle so much spice. Next is my favorite ingredient, tofu. Slicing the tofu up into cubes and adding them into the stew shortly after, so they manage to capture some of the flavors from everything that's brewing inside. And of course, the last component is kimchi. A fair warning, do open kimchi over the sink as it's fermented because it may spill over. This happened to me off camera, so make sure you're prepared. After adding the kimchi in, it's time to let everything simmer for a few minutes and develop in flavor. After tasting, I figured that a spoonful of sugar and sesame oil would help, since the kimchi was pretty tangy. It doesn't taste quite the same as when Peter usually makes it, but I don't think I did too bad of a job. Now, it's time to dig into the stew with a side of rice. Nothing like a comforting, warm stew for the cold weather to end the day. As meals come and go, so do the food scraps as they continue to pile up in the freezer. As a few days have gone by, I wanted to show you how I actually run the Lomi. So I'll start by going ahead and plugging the Lomi in and removing the lid. There's a metal bucket inside, which should be filled up to the line with food scraps. If there's anything super large, I'd recommend chopping or ripping it into smaller pieces to help it break down better in the Lomi. Once it's full, the only addition is a small tablet called a Lomi pod that helps speed up the composting process. Add this with a bit of water, and you're all set to start the Lomi. Choose a setting of your choice, whether it's Eco Express, which makes those dehydrated scraps for your yard trimmings, Lomi Approved mode, to process Lomi approved bioplastics, or Grow mode, which is the longest mode that preserves microorganisms and bacteria most helpful to soil, and it's the perfect addition to add directly into your garden or plants. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed seeing what I eat in a day and also learning more about the Lomi, something I'm super excited to continue using as a way to reduce food waste in this new year. If you're interested in getting your own Lomi, do check out the link in the description box and let me know if you have any questions about it below or any other questions about the recipes for today. Hope you all enjoyed this video and let me know if you have any suggestions otherwise. Wishing you all a simple and sustainable day ahead.